All right, as usual, we'll start with an opening statement from Coach, and then we'll open it to questions. When you have a question, please raise your hand. Wait to be recognized by the table, and JC will get the wireless microphone over to you. We do have quote takers who are taking quotes over YouTube, so it's very helpful if we can get the microphone over to you so they can hear your question. But opening statement from Coach.
I felt like that was the UConn of March we're used to seeing. I thought they were absolutely tremendous right out of the gates. Can't say enough about Aaliyah Edwards. I feel like she's one of the most improved players in the entire country, and I know Coach had challenged her probably in this tournament and this next month to really show it. I mean, she's an All-American in my eyes, and I thought she really set the tone with her toughness and physicality, and then just became a little contagious with all their players. Our defense was not up to our standards, but I think a lot of that was what UConn did. But for our team, I'm very, very proud of what we've accomplished this season through a lot of ups and downs. We probably don't talk about it enough, but a very disappointed locker room for my team. But hopefully we'll be seeing you guys in a couple weeks.
All right, questions for Coach. Again, raise your hand. We'll get the microphone over to you. We'll start over here in the front row on the right. If you can pass the microphone down, please.
Hey, Coach. Pat Eatonrup from the Associated Press. Can you just make the case for your team making the NCAA tournament after the first round win here and everything else you've done this season?
Yeah, I think we've had a really good season. You know, before the start of it, we really wanted to get out and, challenge ourselves non-conference, went to the Battle for Atlantis and, beat Texas, beat Gonzaga, took UCLA to overtime, went out and scheduled Colorado, who's had a tremendous season. And then obviously this is the best at, I'm fairly new to the Big East from a head coaching side of things, but everybody tells me this is the best the league has been in a lot of years. And, we're trying to get more recognition and attention to be in that NCAA tournament. You could talk about 5-6 teams. We had a major injury with Liza Carlin, number 32, that took us out of some things in the month of January, and having her back, and you could see it last night against St. John's, just how important she is to our team. Our strength of schedule is really good. Our net was looking pretty good. So I hope the body of work outside of tonight's game will be recognized.
All right, Tim, here in the front.
Coach, obviously your big three played a big role in your win yesterday. So on a day where they kind of struggled, how big was it to see your freshman duo, Emily and Mackenzie, step up the way that they did?
Yeah, they were fine. I thought you can't put it on freshmen to bail us out of a game like this. Our big three have been tremendous, Liza, Chloe, and Jordan, and give UConn a lot of credit. I thought their big bodies, their physicality, some of our cuts and movement, we just couldn't do anything, and just forced us to take some difficult shots. And then I thought we got rattled a little bit. We made a nice little run in the second quarter, and I thought maybe the momentum was turning a little bit, but I think that's what we're seeing now with just even having Fudd back, and didn't know if Ducharme was going to play today. Just their depth of having 10 available people is very different than maybe it was a month ago when there was 5 or 6 playing. So not our best from our top players today, but they've carried us all season, and I like the future with our 2 freshmen.
Here in the middle row.
Kaylin Wright from the Marquette Wire. So yesterday you kind of talked about how Liza was that steady presence for you. How did that kind of carry over into today, 18 points, despite the struggles that you guys faced?
Yeah, she got off to a great start and just playing some great basketball. She had a heck of an injury this year with her mouth and jaw and could have been a season-ending injury, and battled through that, and now she's getting her legs under. Maybe she's fresher than most people, but just, was steady with her shooting, and just really happy for that kid to find some positive basketball here late in the season.
So we're going to go right here in the middle, third row, then the front, and then we'll try to go to the back if we can.
Right here. You mentioned UConn's depth. What is the biggest difference in them right now than when they saw you guys on February 8th?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was a huge historic win for our program. And, during that time, you're kind of in the gauntlet. Your schedule can be really hard. You're on the road. You're just playing back to back to back. And I think the interesting part about the league this year is you can kind of probably the first time in a while you can catch some people off guard, and I thought we played very well at our place, and they were looked a little tired after that South Carolina game. But like I said, we've been playing them. I play them 3 times every year. It's just like, gosh, it gets harder when you get to that March game. Just the way they turn it up, and they look more confident. They're playing faster. I mean, their cuts and their movement, I think Coach has been trying to get them to do, was in full effect today. And as you could see, we were a step slow. and then you add them being 6'4" and 6'4" and 6'2" and 6'1" to our size, didn't help us when we were a step slow.
Okay, front left here.
Megan, how about UConn's defense? They seem to have picked up the intensity in this tournament, certainly. I mean, do you notice a difference between when you played them in the regular season and now defensively?
Yeah, and I've said this a couple times. Like, I think every time you play UConn, it's a separate entity. So meaning, like, you can't say, oh, what worked in game 2 will work in game 3. It's actually the opposite. That's why they're very good. That's why they're so consistent, because they don't give you the same things again. So you got to be really on your toes with trying to find ways to score. I've always said this. I know that with the talent they have and, the All-Americans year after year, I think people look at like, wow, Lou can score, and obviously Dorka and Edwards doing what they do. But the other piece that I don't think they get enough credit for is when they're on, how good defensively they can be with their positioning, with their pressure. And now you add a few more bodies to that mix, where maybe a kid gets a couple-minute break at the media or whatever it is. I think that gets them obviously confident. It's very, very difficult to score. You got to be able to shoot the three. You got to counter their physicality inside consistently through 40 minutes.
Back row on the TV platform on the right.
Hi, Coach Duffy. Unquas Sonia, Channel 3, WFSB. Nice seeing you again. If you could speak to the strength of the Big East in general. I mean, you mentioned that the league is at the best that it's been at since you've been here, but how does it speak to the depth of the league that it buffers your chances of getting into the tournament?
I think we talked about it last year in the tournament of how, when UConn came into the league a couple years ago, we all, in our coaches' meetings tried to make a commitment of, hey, we got to pick up our game a little bit, whether that's recruiting, whether that's game planning. We got some tremendous coaches in this league, and, just wanted to raise that bar a little bit more. And what I think you're seeing is the depth, even some of our lower ranked teams, how much improved they are. The different styles make our league challenging. I mean, you got a Creighton and a Nova that's 5 out and cuts and moving and driving you crazy, and then you got the physicality of UConn. Us, we're good defensively and fundamentally sound enough on offense. And so I just think, I think all of the teams we've been talking about, St. John's with their talent at their guard position, you put us all in the tournament, I think we'll be pretty happy because we know the gauntlet we've been through and the coaches we have on the sideline and these student athletes that continue to, I didn't even mention DePaul yet with Morrow and Segrist, like the stars in this league. I don't care what league you put them in, they're going to be good no matter what league it is. So the talent is there, and I hope we'll be able to showcase as many as we can after Selection Sunday.
Great, Coach. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Couple of UConn notes while we're waiting for the Huskies. 26th appearance tomorrow in a Big East tournament final. 19th consecutive conference tournament final across the Big East and their membership in the American tomorrow. And also for Mule, her 10 assists tie a UConn record, single game record in a Big East tournament game. So Mule's 10 assists, that just ties a UConn high for assists in a Big East tournament game. Third time that number's been hit. Well, so this is their 26th Big East tournament final. 26 for the Big East coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow will mark their 19th consecutive conference tournament final appearance. Mm-hmm. The run started in 05. That sounds right. Yeah, UConn's on its way. I'm going to switch him around on me again. Now it all makes perfect sense. Okay, we will take questions for the athletes first. Then we'll excuse them, and then we'll take questions for Coach. But raise your hand. We'll get the microphone over to you. We'll start over here in the front row with the AP, and we'll work the microphone around.
Aaliyah, you and Dorka had double-doubles for the second consecutive night, and I think it was 48-8 points in the paint today. Can you just talk about how important the inside game has been during this tournament and you guys turning it up there?
Yeah, it's been very important for us to kind of dominate the paint. I think that, Dorka, me, and Aubrey really did well on the boards and just converting down low. I think that our teammates did well finding us, and we were able to put the ball in. So I think that we just need to continue this for tomorrow and throughout March.
Here in the front row on the left.
Nika, Marquette coach Megan Duffy said in her opening statement she feels like she just met the UConn team from March. Do you feel like there is a difference in you guys if you just refocused and picked up the intensity or something, especially defensively?
Yeah, I feel like today's game pretty much felt like the games throughout the beginning of the season, the non-conference games. We definitely have a different edge to us when March comes, when, the games really, really, really matter. So I think our energy was great today. Our defense was amazing, and we're just going to continue to keep that up because now every game matters.
We'll do Dom and then over behind JC.
Nika, how much was the last game against Marquette on your minds collectively or you individually today, and what was really the difference? I know that AZ and Caroline only played a few minutes today. It was basically the same people.
Yeah.
What was the difference today from that game?
That game was definitely on our minds, especially me personally. Coming into this game, we knew that they're a physical team, they're disciplined, they're well coached. So we knew what we were up against. We played them twice in the year. So it was on our minds, I'm not going to lie. I remember them celebrating after they won against us, and I feel like we brought that in our minds to us, with us to the game today, and it definitely showed. I feel like we punched them, they tried to punch us back, but we just kept punching throughout the whole game, and we won.
Way over here on the left.
Nika, the first two regular season games, Marquette pretty much controlled tempo. I think you guys scored 61 and 52. What was different today that you were able to play at a pace that you guys wanted and a tempo you guys wanted?
I feel like what was different today was that it's March, and it's not any other month in the year. It's just March, and Coach keeps emphasizing it in practice. We're a different team in March, and we highly believe it, and we believe in ourselves. And today's energy, today's edge that we brought was amazing, and I'm very proud of my team. And as I said, we're just gonna keep bringing it even more and more.
Tim here in the front.
For either one of you, Marquette went on an 8-0 run to cut it down to 5 about halfway through the second quarter. I mean, from a player's perspective, what do you think really changed for you to go on the run that you went on to turn a 5-point game into a 15-point game heading into the locker room?
I think it just comes down to not letting up. We knew they could go on their run, but we knew that we were in control of the game, and we let them have their punch. But as Nika said, like, we just punched back, and going back to just being more disciplined on defense, I think that we just locked in defensively, try to disrupt them in their offensive flow so it can turn into our transition points.
Anything? Here we go in the back left. We'll get the microphone over to you.
Nika, having 10 players available for you guys over these over these last two games, it was just the third time today you guys have had that all season. Just how re-energizing has that been for you guys? Just how much of a relief has that been to know that you guys are kind of more complete now?
It feels amazing knowing that you have people to come off the bench and just give you a little break. I feel like that's a huge relief for us, and I feel like people that have been playing for the most of the season have so much, what is that called? Like, we build up our confidence and stamina and and conditioning. So we just have so much energy, and I feel like that showed today. Now we can go all in. We don't have to save ourselves no bit. People can be aggressive. There's people that can come in for them if they foul too much. So it's amazing, and I feel like 10 players available at the right time.
Right here, third row in the middle.
And Nika, we asked Aaliyah this yesterday. She won Most Improved Player in the Big East. Where do you see her biggest improvement this year from last year?
I mean, just in every field basketball-wise possible. Points, rebounds, hustle plays. I mean, she has been this player the whole time. She just didn't show it. So I feel like she now has so much confidence. I see her in the gym working every day. She's the hardest worker. She's in the gym the most. She comes early, works every day on off days. So nothing surprising, nothing that nobody was expecting of her. We all knew that she was capable of doing all of this. And just her leadership, her vocal skills, everything. She's just a complete player, and I'm so proud of her that she's finally able to showcase it, and she's been huge for us, especially tonight.
Anything else for the athletes? One more over here, Dom. We'll get the mic over to you. It's coming from your left.
Nika, I don't know if you were asked this earlier before, but a couple of weeks ago, Tristan Newton had 12 assists in a game, and I think one of his teammates commented he was playing like Nika Mule. I just wondered if you had heard that and what you thought of that. If you know Tristan, what your reaction was to that.
Yeah, it was a really nice compliment. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I wish them all the good luck in their tournament.
Great, ladies. Thank you very much. We'll let you go.
Thank you.
Raise your hands. We'll do questions for Coach. We'll start right there, and we'll move the mic around.
Gino, less than a month ago, you guys, lost to Marquette on the road in a game where you said the fatigue of the season really, had caught up to you guys. To have this, dominant wire-to-wire, victory over that same opponent today, and just how re-energized you guys have looked over these last two games. Just how different of a spot is your team in now than it was at that point in February when you lost to Marquette?
That was probably the lowest point of our season. Those couple of days leading up to the Marquette game, you could see, it was difficult. The energy level that we normally have, and it starts with Nika, and she didn't have it. So those 2 days leading up to Marquette, Monday and Tuesday, there wasn't that normal fire in her, and the rest of the team, they felt it as well. And when the game got off to a pretty good start for us, and we thought, well, hopefully this will be an easy game and we won't have to grind it out and play 40 minutes of, physical basketball after what we'd just been through with South Carolina. And when the game turned into that, I think we were shot. But that's on the road in February. So there's games in February, there's games in January, and then there's games in March. And, I don't get too excited about games in February. I worry more about, are we getting better so that we can be really good in March? And that's kind of been the philosophy around here for a lot of years. We put together a schedule that'll guarantee that we lose, and some years, we don't. But it's not because, we didn't schedule teams to lose. So you get to March, it's not the same. That's all there is to it. It's not the same. Playing a regular season game in February, that's one thing. Playing a tournament game in March, that's a whole different mindset that you have to have. And you almost have to have two kinds of teams on your team. Right on your own team, you have to have almost two kinds of teams. You have to have a regular season team, and then you have to have a tournament team.
Here in the front row, and we'll work the microphone around. We've got a couple other questions.
Hey, Coach. T. Baker with the Next. Good to see you today. Aubrey Griffin seemed to do everything for you today, scoring, rebounding, stealing. Can you just talk about how her playing like that changes the dynamic of your team?
No question. The big question always is, when is the next time we're going to see that Aubrey? And if it's tomorrow, then whoever we're playing is going to be in a tough spot. Because when Aubrey is like that, there really isn't much on the basketball court that she can't get accomplished. And she impacts the game at every level. And hopefully her confidence level is really high right now. I haven't talked to her about this specifically, but sometimes, when you have alternatives, and the kid knows, hey, look, if I struggle a little bit, I can come out, get my bearings, and then go back in. Whereas when we didn't have any options, she's out there on an island playing poorly, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I think her mind is in the right place right now, and if we can get that from her, the rest of this tournament and beyond, we're a completely different team. Completely different.
In the back row.
Gino, two strong performances in this tournament. It was just 6 days ago when you seemed to have some pretty deep concern for where things were headed, and some criticism of yourself, of your staff, of your team in general. Maybe you've already touched on this theme a little bit in your previous answer, but what's the difference? What's changed this week for you? Is it more than just recognizing the moment?
It's mostly that. It's each team is different. There have been times when we finished the regular season on a high and go into the Big East tournament, on a high, and we roll right through it. I thought this past Monday, I guess I just needed to vent that I was tired of using the excuse of being tired, that the team was tired, that we're mentally fatigued, and we're physically fatigued, and we play too many minutes, and this and that. And I wanted to get that out there for the team so that's it. That's the last time we're discussing that. That's the last time we're using that. And practices, even though we didn't have many of them, practices were a little bit different leading up to this tournament. We may have been guilty early, throughout the season, and that we're treating them like they're fragile because they are. Every time somebody falls down at practice, you start to go, oh boy, there goes another one. I think after the Xavier game, we took a couple of days off, and when we came back, it was like, it's back to the old days. Go under the mattresses.
All the way here on the left.
Back to the old days.
Gino, a double-double for Nika, 400 career assists today. We always know how tough you are on your point guards, but how tough is Nika on you?
How tough is she on me? Not as much as freshman year and last year. I think them coming in on the bubble year was really, really difficult for everybody. And I can be tough on her because she wants that. She appreciates that. She responds to that. She is confident enough in who she is to tell me exactly where she is relative to me. This is what I think, she says. And I like our point guards to be like that because it's supposed to be a collaboration. It's not supposed to be, I say this, you do that. It's supposed to be, this is what I want. Now you tell me how you're going to get it, and then you're going to tell me why you didn't get it or what we need to do different to get it. Not just say, yes, yes, coach, yes, coach, yes, coach, yes, coach. She's not that. And I appreciate that about her. And each day she's becoming a little bit easier to coach. She's less hard on herself. So I've really enjoyed this year with Nika, and I hope we have a long run in the NCAA tournament because, she's a feisty kid who never wants to stop fighting. She never wants to stop competing. She didn't have to have an offensive foul on that kid today at underneath the basket. She already had the layup. But that was a classic Shea Ralph move. Drive here, I could just shoot a layup, but you know what? It won't be as much fun unless I whack this kid. There's just some people are like that. What can I tell you?
Dom over here on the left.
With all these qualities that you've talked about with Nika and the difference between March and other months, other games, is she maybe uniquely built for this? Is she made for that difference between March and the rest of the season?
Some people are. Some people are. Nika has more confidence than game. Like there's things that she thinks she can do on the basketball court that she can't do. But she doesn't know that and doesn't care. So her confidence level is I can do anything on that basketball court. And the bigger the game, the bigger the moment, the more pressure, doesn't faze her one bit. So if you have a leader like that on your team, that does rub off on the rest of the players. You know, she's running out of the tunnel and you're following her. That's a pretty good person to follow into what's coming next.
Coach, you guys almost scored more in the paint today than Marquette did in total, and you had another dominant game in the paint yesterday. When you think about how much players are sticking to Lou Lopez, Shanae closer on the three-point line, other players in general, how important is it for your team to continue this dominance heading into March?
Well, we need one or the other, preferably both, right? So we either have to be a terrific three-point shooting team like we were in November. I think we were number one in the country for the longest time, November, December. I can't imagine we're still there now. And I said that we have to score more in the lane or it's going to catch up to us. And I think they're both related in a way that the threat of us scoring in the lane gives us more threes. And scoring in the lane allows us to play any way we want, actually, because not every shot that Lou or AZ or Nika or anybody else takes now is life and death. We're going to get that rebound. We're going to get a bucket and a foul. So it just cleans up a lot of stuff when, and I explained it to the players, you know, everybody always talks about how important guards are in basketball, including me. You know, I always say, you can always play with 5 guards, but you can't play with 5 post players, right? And you see around the world, you know, the game is changing and people are playing more with, you know, players that don't have a position. But at the same time, the game, as it's played here in college, still, you have to have a tremendous presence in the lane at both ends of the floor. And today, that's exactly what we did. We didn't let them have anything in the lane like they had the first 2 times they played us. And we got whatever we wanted in the lane against them. So when you're doing that to people, it's kind of demoralizing a little bit, you know, because they don't want to have to go in there and trap and leave AZ and Lou open. So it was just an all-around great performance by, you know, Aubrey, Leah, and Dorka especially, the 3 of them. They were terrific.
Yeah, we got time for 3 more. We got back row and then 1 each in the front. We're going to let them go.
Gino, could you just talk about the defensive intensity of your team? Block shots, steals, they really, the last couple of days have been on point.
Yeah, you watch enough basketball and you realize that the best team in the country is going to struggle against an average team in the country if they walk the ball up the floor every possession and the final score is going to be 60 to 55. So how do you create opportunities for yourself that don't require the grind of, you know, every screen, every cut, every pass is contested? Well, I think you have to force some turnovers. You have to play great defense, and you have to control the boards. And then you need a point guard that pushes the ball up the floor. So all of our offense, all those 81 points, came almost directly off of what we were doing defensively. And that wasn't the case towards the end of the season with everybody. That's why our point production went way down. We went from being in the 80s all the time to then we're down in the 60s for 6 or 7 games or whatever it was. It's because we weren't making anything happen on the defensive end. And that's been a big difference the last 2 days.
Okay, last question here, front right.
Gino, can you give us an update on AZ and Caroline, and are you going to have to manage their minutes coming up the rest of March, or tomorrow, or at all?
I don't plan to, unless somebody tells me I have to. I don't plan on it. I think these first 2 days were mainly let's get back in the swing of things for AZ. She could have played more minutes today, and maybe if the game was closer. But I just wanted her to get enough, just enough, and then add maybe a little bit more tomorrow, so that when the NCAA tournament comes around, it's not the first time she might have to play 30 minutes. And what really helps is if Aubrey plays the way she played today, then that gives us the luxury of, managing that even better. And with Carol, getting hit yesterday, it all depended on this morning, how you feeling. And she said she felt pretty good and gave it a shot, and then we'll see how she is tomorrow. But I would expect that by NCAA tournament time, she's going to be just like everybody else. Whatever minutes we need her to play, she'll play.
Coach, thanks.
All right, thanks, everybody.